and a good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good and world people of the tube. Hope today, hope you're feeling grand and all is well in your world. Hello, everybody. Experimentation day for YouTube. Like I say in the last video, if you saw the last video, I said I was going to do this in my own time off camera, but I thought it might be quite interesting to see. So, for a long time now, I've wondered if my pedal board would work through a PA system. Now, the pedal board I use hasn't got any kind of like amp simulation or cab IRs or anything like that. So I was just curious, like, you know, worst case scenario, I'm at a gig, my main amp fails, and for some reason I've forgotten my backup, or my backup blows up as well, or someone's ate it, I don't know. Going by some of my gig stories, that's not actually out of the question. Someone could definitely eat my amp at some point. Anyway, stay tuned. No. But yeah, like, worst case scenario, amps fail. There's nothing, like, there's nothing left other than the PA. Does my pedal board work through that? You know, can I get this to sound good through PA speakers and a PA head? Like I said, I was going to do this off camera, but I think it might be quite interesting to see. Because again, like I said, I've got no IRs, no cab emulation, no amp emulation. It's just my pedal board. So, will it work? I don't know. We're going to find out today. So, usual pedal board I've got here. The Golden Plexi will be the always on pedal. The PA I'm using is my Behringer Europower PMP 2000. This is a, what is it? It says it's an 800 watt. It's not 800 watt. Especially not when you're running it at 4 ohm. So I'm running, 8 ohm, sorry. I'm running at 8 ohm today. These speakers run at 8 ohm. So I'm only getting 225 watts out of the power, out of the amp. If you run it at 4 ohm, you get, one sec. Yeah. So if you run it at 4 ohm, you get 350 watts, which is more than enough for a pub gig. You know, I love this thing. It's one of my favourite PAs I've ever had, and it was relatively inexpensive, but it's just ace. I love it. The effects are good. It goes loud enough. You can run monitors in it. It does what you need it to do, basically. The only thing I wish it had that it doesn't have is a pan, the ability to pan sound left and right. But I'm not going to kick up a stinker over about that. But anyway, back to the question at hand today, POTT. Will my pedal board work straight into a PA? I don't know. I really don't have any clue. I've never tried this before. I never go anywhere without a backup amp. But just say I'm doing a support slot, and like say this, I only take one amp because I'm only playing for half an hour. But like first song in, my amp blows up. The main act won't loan me their amp to play through, and all I've got is to plug it into the PA. Can I make it? Will it sound any good? I don't know. Let's find out. So, oh, and by the way, the two PA speakers we're using today are PV speakers as well. These are 350 watts each. So yeah, we're all good there. They're not full range, but they are kind of not far off. Basically, anything below the frequency of an A string on a bass, it won't come through these speakers because they're not all that. I didn't want to drag down the full range speakers because they're too big, and they're upstairs, and I'm the only one here today, so I can't carry them downstairs. So these will suffice, but they'll give an idea. They will give a good idea. So, without further doodles, if I can plug things in, pedal board is plugged in to the PA. Pedal board has power. Let me go and get a guitar, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to leave you where you are, POTT. I'm going to run it off a room mic for now, and see, and basically talk you through what's going on. And then, at the end of it, if it sounds any good or it doesn't sound any good, what I'll do is, I'll mic up one of the PA speakers to let you hear it properly. So, let's see if this works, because again, very, very curious about this. Again, it's just one of those things that kind of like will ease my mind as well. If I do go to a gig and I've only got one amp and it dies, you know, if I can get it to sound good on this PA, and no PA is going to be an issue. So let's go. Okay, POTT. So we are plugged in. It's all on. We're ready to go. So Golden Plexi's on from the get-go, because that's, like I say, that's my pedal that's always on. I'm using my number 1 Oswald today. I might have to attenuate the signal. The signal might be too big for the PA. I don't know. Basically, what that means is on a PA, there's normally a switch called a PAD, and what that does is basically minuses a certain amount of dB off the initial signal, so you can actually turn it up and not blow the PA out. On this one, it's minus 25 dB, and it's really, really good. So let's see if we've got any kind of signal for. Actually, let me turn the golden plexi off. We'll start clean. So I'm going to put the channel volume at 12 o'clock to start with, and I'm going to bring up the master. Again, I can't be too loud because I'm on room mic. Okay. We have signal. It might peek out the camera a bit, POTT, but I can't get it any louder than that, or quieter than that, should I say. So, golden plexi's on. I'll tell you what, right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump all the low end, because there's too much low end on that. So I'm going to go for the low dial, I'm going to turn it all the way off, I'm going to cut it all the way off. I'll tell you what, POTT, that's not a bad... Again, there's no kind of like impulse response here, there's no amp simulation or anything like that. It's just my pedal board as is. This is how I plug into everything. And it's still a bit too low endy, which unfortunately I can no longer do anything about. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to boost up the mids first and see if that just brings it up a little bit more. So I've boosted the mids to about 2 o'clock. No, the mids is kind of like clanking it out. So we're going to boost the highs. So highs are about 12 o'clock. On the reverb you're hearing, by the way, POTT, is from the Zoom pedal. So it's not from the PA, it's from the Zoom. I'll tell you what, that's not a bad sound. That is not a bad sound. I expected it to be terrible. Okay, I'm going to try distortion. I'm going to turn the PA down a bit though, because it is loud. And I don't want to... Okay, I don't know how much this is peeking out the camera. Hopefully it's not too bad. Turn that down a bit more. Dusty pop. So yeah, what's going on is we are clipping the output. You can hear it crackling the speakers. So I am going to attenuate it. So I'm going to push in the PAD switch, the pad switch, and attenuate it by 25 dB. Now it'll be very quiet. But now I can bring up the level more. But the problem with that is too attenuated. So that's too quiet. So basically what would happen through my experience with this is that's just not loud enough, the guitar isn't perfect. So I'm going to take the pad out again and just basically turn down the level on the channel. So I normally run the master about 12 o'clock on this PA. And then basically just balance off the channel. So this is going to be loud. I'll tell you what, that sounds good. Like I say, it's quiet at this point in time, POTT, but what I'll do is I'll put a mic on the PA speaker in a minute, let you hear it properly. I'm just trying to dial it in as best I can. So I've put everything back at 12 o'clock apart from the low. The low is still all scooped out, so I've got no low end whatsoever because, again, don't need it, guitarist. I say, is it a sound that I'd be like, if I had to use this every gig, would I be 100% happy? No, I wouldn't. It's quite. It's not harsh, but it's not. These aren't guitar speakers. You know what I mean? You can mic a guitar up through these, an amp through these, and get a good sound. But running a guitar into a PA and these speakers isn't. What's the word? Isn't the best thing in the world, but it could be worse. And what I've just done there is I've dumped out all the low end on the graphic EQ, which I don't normally do because the graphic EQ I tend to leave it flat unless I get feedback issues. But I'll tell you what though, people, if like I say, if my amp went down and all I've got to do is plug into the PA, and that's the kind of sound I can get with basically the EQ flat, apart from all the low end dumped out of it, I'd be happy. I could get through a gig. I do like it more with the highs, a bit boosted though. Like that was the high and the mids at 12. What the sound is that I'm hearing is there's like a fizz on top of the notes. I'll tell you what though. I wouldn't be kind of like I would be like, stop the gig. You know what I mean? I would be quite happy with that, POTT. I'll tell you what, that is not anywhere near as bad as I thought it would be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a mic and I'm going to mic up this speaker over here and let you hear it a bit louder, because at this point in time it's very, very quiet. The PA's like, it's a bit like, is this what's going on? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mic up that far right speaker and let you hear it with a bit more oomph to it, and let you hear what it kind of sounds like. So, and also what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the EQ all back at 12 o'clock. So low, mid, and high are all at 12 o'clock. And the first thing I'll do is I'll dump all the low end out of it. So all the low end will just disappear, and it'll just immediately be a lot more kind of guitar-y. And then what I think I might do is mess around with the mids and mess around with the highs as well, and see where we go. So, let me get a mic and I'll be right back. I have no idea where to mic up a PA speaker, so I've never mic'd up a PA. I've been mic'd up by a PA, but I've never mic'd up a PA. My lord, what's going on? I'm going to be true. So I've got the PA speaker mic'd up. Like I said, I've never mic'd up a PA. You don't mic up PAs. PAs mic you up. Anyway, I didn't know where to put the mic. So what I've done is I've just put it where I would normally do it if it was a guitar amp. So it's basically just, like you can see the dust cover in the centre. This section here, the round bit. What I've done is I've just basically put the microphone about there. So it's kind of slightly on, slightly off. I didn't want it all the way off because it's got a big thing, big dust cover. So now I can turn up the amp a bit more because we'll be on close mic instead. Also using SM58 as well. I'm really loving the 58 recently. Like I probably keep saying it in videos, but I'm really enjoying miking with an SM58 over an SM57. It's just a bit of a, I don't know. It's a different sound, but I really like it. So anyway, let's dive more into this because I'm really happy. It just eases my mind, and again, hopefully people too, it'll ease some of your people's mind as well. Like if you're gigging and you don't have like, you know, say you've only got one amp and it dies, and you've only got to plug in the P8. Hopefully this kind of like, you know, proves it can be done. It does work. It's not the most guitar-y tone. It's not. It's kind of quite sterile. But, you know, to get through the rest of the gig, it will work. You know, you don't necessarily need like a Helix and IRs. You know, this is just, I ain't got any amp emulation here. This is literally just, the only amp is the PA. So, let me return the room mics off and we'll go to close mic and continue the experimentation. So, oh yeah, and again, before we go any further, just to reiterate, all EQ at this point in time is at 12 o'clock. So low, mid and high, all at 12 o'clock. And I'll be messing with it as we go. So, let's make some more noise. So, I've got to say, I am pleasantly surprised by that. I really expected that to be bloody awful, to be perfectly honest with you. So you heard at the beginning, like, how much low end was on the guitar. It was just, like, absolutely crushing. This, that brass clasp on that box was just going mental. It was like, ah! So it was quite amusing. But yeah, I say, as soon as I lowered that down and highs and mids were at 12 o'clock, it seemed to kind of like EQ itself out. It was a lot better. Like I say, I could EQ it further with the graphic EQ, but then that alters everything. And if that's set for the room, then I don't really want to be doing that. I want to be kind of working from a PA. You heard me boosting up the highs, you heard me boost up the mids as well. The mids have so much punch. When you turn up the mids, it smacks you in the head. It really does. It's a bit too powerful. Having the highs and the mids at 12 o'clock, I think, was the best place for him to be, because it kind of gave it, like, you know, the best home base, if you will. It sits in the right place frequency wise, I think. I feel. Anyway, I hope that came across okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to plug my looper in and do a loop for the outro of the song. Outro of the video. He's got a brain. Don't know where it is, but it's somewhere out there in the world. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to get my looper. Let's plug the looper in. Let's see what the looper does. Good day, YouTube. So, there you go. That's experimentation over. Like I say, is it the most ideal guitar tone? No. But, would it get you through a gig? Yes. And does it sound better than I thought? Definitely yes. I really expected that to be really harsh and nasty and just not very good at all. I thought I was really going to have to work the EQ. And I just didn't have to. You know, it sounded pretty good from the get-go. There was just too much low end, basically. And again, once I dumped all that off, it was kind of like, you know, it was a happy little bunny. You did hear the reverb at the end, by the way. The reverb on the backing track at the end did come from the PA. I was using the, what is it called? Number 9. Church. I was using a Church reverb. And it just sounded big and spacey, and it fit the backing track kind of perfectly for what I kind of wanted it for. But yeah, so there you go, POTT. You can run just a normal pedalboard into PA without IRs. You don't need amp simulation. You don't need impulse responses. It sounds pretty good. Like I say, would it sound better with an IR or like an amp simulation? Yeah, probably. But it sounds pretty good as it is, you know what I mean? So it's not necessarily, you know, needed. I mean, you know, if you don't have it, you know, you're not going to miss it. Because like I said, I'm just using bog standard pedals into a PA with PA speakers, you know, not even guitar speakers. So, yeah, mental. Absolutely mental. I did not expect that to work. I expected that to be a complete failure, and I thought we could all have a laugh at using a pedal board without amp simulation through a PA, and it would sound horrible, but it didn't. It went the total opposite way to what I thought was going to happen, and I'm kind of glad it did, because it frees my mind up as well for like support gigs where you're not always going to have time to get a second amp on stage if you don't have it. So, and also if like, you know, something catastrophic like happened at a gig where you don't have your backup amp, like, you know, it fails and your main amp fails, and all you've got is a PA, you know, it kind of like makes me go, well, yeah, I'm happy to plug my pedalboard straight into a PA or any kind of PA, and just basically go from there, you know, and I'll happily finish the gig out, as long as the sound guy doesn't get too, you know, if I'm the sound guy, which I am mostly for the trio gigs, as long as, but if there's a sound guy there, hopefully he doesn't get too kind of like, you know, tweak happy and go, oh, it's a little bit too dark, I'm going to add high end, and it's also like really harsh. But yeah, that's wicked. That is wicked. I don't know, POTT, what do you think to the sound? What did you reckon? Let me know in the comment section below. Very curious to hear your comments as usual. I'm going to turn this off now. Boo! There we go. And I'll let you go, POTT. So, like I say, let me know what you thought. Have you, do any of you do this? You know, out there, POTT, do any of you just don't have an amp, you just plug into a PA? But without amp simulation and IRs. Because remember, I've got no amp simulation here. There's no IRs, there's no impulse responses, there's none of that. You know, even though IRs are impulse responses, Dave. Why did you say it twice? You stupid boy. Anyway, there's none of that, though. None of that. It's just my pedalboard into the PA. You know, you can see the lead. You know, I'm not faking anything here. This is just straight into the PA. I dumped all the low end out, obviously, but all the high and the mid were at 12 o'clock. I did actually dump out the low end on the graphic EQ as well. The 65 kilohertz, I think it would be. The low end, I think it's kilohertz. I forget. I don't really know anymore. But the 63, sorry, I dumped that low end out of both speakers for the outro jam, just to make it a little bit more kind of even. In all fairness, it didn't really do a great deal. It just kind of dumped a bit more low end, but nothing major. Anyway, that makes me very happy. Let me know what you thought. If you like the videos I do here, please consider becoming a patron at Patreon. Link to that is down there in the description box. Other than that, POTT, hope you enjoyed this vid, and I will see you again for another one very soon. Yeah. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. I am so happy about that. I bet you can't tell. Ah! That worked. It worked. How did it work? It worked, though. It did. I mean, in all fairness, though, people like Nile Rodgers and all that, they plugged into PA to recording consoles and PAs their whole life, and it always sounded good with them. So why would it not work? It's still an amplifier. It's got weirder EQ, but it still works. Test satisfactory. You may proceed.